Students, here comes the second video from the main topic, discharge of contract. In this video, I will provide you information about the discharge by agreement, which is second mode of discharge of contract. For your memory recall, once again, discharge of contract takes place when the obligations of contract between the parties of contract come to an end. For your reminder purposes, discharge of contract means when both parties free from their obligations. I have already explained the first mode of discharge of contract. Today I will explain discharge by agreement, which is second mode. A contract can also be discharged by the fresh agreement between the same parties. Termination of an agreement may take place in any of the following ways, or you can say discharge by agreement may take place in following ways. The first one is discharge by innovation, discharge by alteration, as well as rescission. The next one is remission, and finally the discharge by waiver. In all these ways, you will notice mutual consent of each party is required. When mutual consent is present, the old contract, old agreement is discharged and new one is established. Here comes the first way of discharge by agreement, which is novation. Novation means replacement of an existing contract by a new contract. The new contract may be between same parties or between the new parties. In other words, an old contract is cancelled and substituted by a new one with the consent of both parties. Students, when old contract is discharged and a new contract comes into an existence, the parties released from their obligations as far as old contract is concerned. The new contract should be valid and enforceable with the mutual consent of the parties. Here is example: A is indebted to B and B to C. It means A is debtor of B and B is debtor of C. By mutual agreement, B's debt to C and A's debt to B are cancelled and C accept A as his debtor. So this is a case of novation. What is important here? There is a change in parties, and change in parties with the mutual consent of the all parties involving in previous agreements. So this will a case of discharge by agreement, which is novation. The next case is alteration. Alteration of contract takes place when one or more of the terms of contract are changed. If material alteration in a written contract is made with the consent of all the parties, the original contract is discharged. An alteration may be a change in amount of money or maybe a change in rate of interest or maybe change in parties. I just make you clear further the difference between alteration and novation. Normally students are confused regarding alteration and novation. The more important difference between alteration and novation is, in case of novation, there may be a change of parties, but in case of alteration, parties normally remain the same and only terms of contract are changed. So you can make clear distinction between novation and alteration. In novation, most of the time parties change. In case of alteration, you can say only terms of the contract are changed with the mutual consent of the parties. The next one is rescission. The rescission means cancellation of contract by mutual consent. A contract may be cancelled by agreement between the parties at any time before it is discharged by performance. Students, important here is before the discharge of contract by performance, the parties agree that they are not going to perform their respective parts. So when both mutually agree not to perform their respective parts, it is a case of rescission. The cancellation of an agreement releases the party from their obligations. Example: A promises to deliver certain goods to B on certain date. Before the date of performance, A and B mutually agree that the contract will not be performed. So when parties mutually agree regarding not performance, this will be a case of a rescission, and in rescission, parties are released from their obligations. The next one is remission. Remissions means the acceptance of lesser amount or lesser fulfillment of a promise made than what was contracted for in full discharge of contract. It is unilateral act of the promisee discharging the obligation of another, either wholly or partly. So when one party is going to accept the lesser amount or is going to extend the time for the payment to the debtor, this acceptance of lesser amount or extending the time to the debtor means a new contract or new agreement has been established, and when new agreement has been established with the mutual consent of the both parties, will discharge the parties from the previous one. Here comes example: A owes B rupees 2000. B agrees to accept rupees 1500 in full satisfaction of his claim. The whole debt is discharged. Students, last way of discharge by agreement is waiver. Here, waiver means the intentional abandonment of right which a person is entitled to under a contract. When a party waives his right under the contract, the other party is released from his obligation. Here is example for you. A promises to make a chair for B, and B afterwards forbids him to do so. A agrees. When A agrees, it means B waiving his right to have a chair from A. So this is called termination of contract by waiver. Students, this is all about second mode, which is discharge by agreement. Students, you will get videos regarding further modes in the coming days. So stay tuned. Goodbye.